Thank you. Maybe we'll just wait one more minute until we hit the 7 o'clock mark. Okay, it's Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. I'll call the council organizational meeting to order at 7 p.m. We take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Indigenous peoples of the Treaty 7 territory and the Otay-Pimisiwa Métis Government District 4. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continue to enrich our community. Okay, are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Okay, if not, can I get a motion?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Make the motion that the agenda be accepted as prepared.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Council meeting calendar 3.1, 2025. If everybody's had a chance to read it, or is there any discussion about it? Okay, if there's no discussion, who would like to make a motion?
To the chair. Make the motion that the 2025 council meeting calendar be accepted with the following changes. The Tuesday, July 1st, 2025 council meeting be moved to Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. And the Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 council meeting be canceled due to the 2025 municipal elections.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, we're going to move to council board and committee appointments. Is anybody presenting? Sure.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. The council board and committee appointments is indeed the next item on the agenda. There is a list of committees and boards. As you'll see, those represent the boards and committees that council would have seen historically. So there's no additions necessarily to this list other than the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. This is one that is an addition, and there's further information the agenda later this evening as it relates to that item. And there will be one council member and one alternate that will sit on the SDAB board that we're looking at. So not sure if you have some ideas of who on council is looking to participate, or if there's any adjustments, maybe it might be a more effective way to move forward. If there's any adjustments to the existing appointments to the boards and committees, then those can be put forward and go from there.
Great. Okay, I think I'll start off the conversation. I just want to go around the table, and I think we'll start with, well, Councilor Brennan, we'll just start with you, if that's okay.
Sure. What do you
My question would be, and this is for everyone, and we'll go around the table. Have you had any trouble in attending your board meetings? And then the secondary question to that would be, if so, have you ever called upon your alternate to come in and do that? And, you know, kind of how many times? And third to that would be, is this a board that you'd still be interested in?
Personally, I love everyone that's running the Marigold Library Board there. They're fantastic. And then secondly, as far as trouble getting to the meetings, no, they're very accommodating in that way. So they always plan it around weather.
Mhm.
They even put people up in hotels if there's any reasons for that, because they're coming from pretty far. So no summer meetings, no excuses there. Winter meetings are all held on Zoom, so that's all fine. And yeah, otherwise, again, happy where I am.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And no need for an alternative.
Right, yes, and
That's
I
okay.
have not had to call an alternate.
Great. Counselor Vang.
I've only met a few times, but I've never had any issue getting to the meetings. I think it's only been like 3 or 4 times in the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been no issue, and but I actually would be interested in taking on this subdivision.
Okay. Counselor Knight.
Well, the Water Commission Board's an interesting one because it's during the week, it's lonely at night.
Yeah.
I haven't had to have my backup call for it all. They're pretty good too. I've been out of town once. They've let me remote in, so
Awesome.
it's pretty good. It's more of a demanding more than I thought for attendance wise and the amount of hours you put in with. I'm good. I haven't had to call again.
Okay, great. Excellent. As for me, I attend both the rec board meetings and the intermunicipal meetings. I've been able to attend them all. I'm happy to stay on those, or if there's any places where we need to fill a gap, I can do that as well. Deputy Mayor.
I'm happy on the rec board. I've attended all my meetings, and if we can't get together, we've done everything via correspondence, which everybody is involved in. And I'd be happy to stay there, and it's running smoother now that the policies have been updated.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Counselor Gustafson.
I am happy where I am at on the Rockview Foundation. It's very rewarding. I missed one meeting due to an emergency at work. And then the other one I was able to Zoom in. So we have lots of, some other counselors that are able to Zoom in. It says once per month at Lodge in Crossville or Cochrane. We haven't been doing that for quite a while, just to kind of keep some of the residents, you know, safe with anything that's going around. So we've been meeting at our office in Airdrie.
Yeah, and that's once a month on
It's
at the last Wednesday of every month.
Wednesday,
Yeah,
Wednesdays,
yeah. Okay, and no problems in attending
No
the
problem.
meetings.
If I have to, I Zoom in. So,
Yeah, and who's your alternative?
It's
I forgot to ask you guys that.
it's Sean.
Oh,
Councillor
okay.
Van is
Yeah. Okay. All right, any further discussion? Anyone else want to add to the discussion or ask any questions? Okay, I do have one thing I would like to add. I'm not sure, even reading through the council conduct or any of our other policies, and I just don't know. But do we have somewhere in writing that says anything about council's commitment to our boards and how many meetings like is acceptable to miss, or anything like that? What's our criteria or something like that?
Through the chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
I can't speak to that particular piece in the council code of conduct specifically, but I know for Marigold how it is. If you miss 3 consecutive meetings, you're considered omit, and they ask.
Right.
I'm a different person.
Well, I think that's the same for like our council meetings, but I didn't know if we had any rules or anything for our boards.
Through the chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe we're the same way too. We asked, you know, if we're not, if we are absent without,
with like an
without
excuse.
letting them know, if there's a good reason, and if our alternate can't go, the time that I couldn't go, I called Chris right away and I said, I can't, I'm stuck here at work, I cannot go, and I was within like 15 minutes of and there was no way I was gonna get a hold of Counselor Vang
Right.
to replace me, but it was a very light meeting, so it's not like there was something hugely pressing that we needed to vote on, so.
So I'm just curious, like, some boards might have that. I don't think our intermunicipal board has that, or even our rec board, I don't think has that individually. But is there something that we can put in place, for our council? Just as, those guidelines and whatnot, or criteria that, each counselor should be following when they're committed to a board or appointed to a board. And is that something that administration can look into bringing back to council?
Through the chair, yes, most
you.
definitely we can look into that. I don't believe today there's language as it relates to that. I believe there is language as it relates to council meetings, but not necessarily any board appointments, but we can definitely look at what that might look like if that was to be included.
Okay, is that something that, we would need a motion for?
I guess council could make a motion to add that in there, but it is something that administration can action without a motion as well. It's something that council as a whole is interested in including. We can definitely look at that.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Like, how does council feel about that?
Yep.
Counselor Knight, go ahead.
I believe the water commission, we have our own set of bylaws that ties that stuff in there.
Mhm.
I wasn't the only one that signed bylaws for and started the whole thing.
Yeah.
It does have stuff pertaining to attendance requirements. I'm not sure if our other ones do, but that's one that does have.
Yeah, there's a couple I hear that do, but there's many that don't.
No self-governance.
So I just want to try and bring maybe some consistency to this council as a whole. How about, let's make a motion and vote on it, just to kind of make it official one way or the other. And then we'll go from there. And then I think this is the meeting to do it at, organizational meeting. So, you're making wording for me right now? No, you're making notes? Oh, that's okay. I will, move that administration bring back, would it be guidelines or policy?
We could say, just say language policy.
Okay, bring back policy language around council's commitment and criteria, for sitting on boards.
Okay.
And that would include accountabilities.
Right.
And what that looks like. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
No, motion carried. Great, thank you. Okay, so as it sits, I believe that everyone's happy on the boards they have. Counselor Vang has indicated he would like to be on the SDAB board. Is there any other counselor that has interest in being on the SDA board?
Through the chair. I'm actually interested as well.
Counselor Fox
I am as well.
and Counselor Brennan, and there's one position.
Shoot.
All right, so we're gonna do this. Counselor Brennan. Well, no, Counselor Vang first. Can you tell the rest of council this kind of why this is a board that would be a good fit for you? What your time commitment would be and the skills that you bring to the table to be on the SDAB board.
Well, to begin with, I guess I've worked in to develop different aspects of the development field at the construction end of it anyway. And so I have that knowledge of at the base level of how it works. And I'm interested in it also because of how the future Cross Hill will progress. And I would just like to be able to see how that goes and have a say sometimes in whether or not I think it's something that's good for the town.
Okay. Great. Anything else?
Not off the top of my head, thing.
All right, Counselor Brennan.
Oh, that's funny, through the chair. Counselor Vang stole a lot of my points as well. Like, I'm a Red Seal carpenter, so I have a pretty good understanding of that construction aspect as well. The town, large part of the reason that I got involved in council in the first place was to kind of have a say in the way that development progresses in this municipality, just to kind of maintain some aspect of what I grew up with. And then on top of that, the interest as well. That's a big part of my life. And seeing a little bit more of that side of it would be interesting, we'll say. Apart from that, that's all I have to add.
Okay, Counselor Fox.
I was interested in it because I gained a lot of knowledge with dealing with our developers, which I didn't have in the past. I do have quite a few conversations with business owners and residents, and I listen to their concerns and generally bring them back to you or administration. And with being a longtime resident, I have seen the changes and I've seen in what direction it has gone wrong. And I would like to be part of trying to rein it back in and grow it properly, like make sure our infrastructure is going to be ready for a new subdivision or any kind of expansion, and kind of have a better rein on it than what has been done in the past.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Oh, I think that's it.
Okay, just to note, Counselor Fox, currently you sit on as an alternate on MPC.
Mhm.
So if you wanted the SDAB board, you would have to give up your alternate spot on MPC to be on this board.
Yes, which I'd be willing to do.
Okay,
To this date, I have actually not had a meeting on that board. So.
okay, that sounds great. Thank you. All right, so I guess it's by show of hands. Or do we do everything
Do that.
all together? Silent?
Well, the plot thickens.
This what I would say. I think that it's fair to, because we are a transparent council, to do it publicly. And no one's feelings should really be hurt. I think that council votes in a way that we think that it should be the best person that we feel is for the job. But how does everybody feel about that? If everybody doesn't like that, I'm happy to change and go to a silent vote. Thoughts?
To the chair.
Yeah.
Number one votes, person in, second votes is an alternate, or what's your thoughts on? Will there be an alternate board or not?
Good point. There has to be an alternate. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So everyone hear that? A majority of votes is the person who sits on the board. Second amount of votes is the alternate.
Through the chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
So is it just the three of us voting
It
for
would
the
be,
three
yeah.
of them, or is it everybody voting for everybody?
I think everybody, well, that's how council works. I think we all get to vote.
Absolutely. So somebody's gonna vote for themselves, absolutely. So
Well,
you'll,
if you think
It-
you're the best person in the job, vote for yourself.
I would think so.
That's right. If you don't, then no one should be voting for you.
Okay.
All right. Counselor Vang put his hand up first, so we'll do votes on Counselor Vang first. All in favor for Counselor Vang? Okay. No, we can back up.
To the chair, I was just thinking that. Yeah, we could almost vote them for the position. One and then the second vote for the alternate. You're probably gonna have. We'll skip.
Okay,
Figure them.
I'd never ignore you. All right, all in favor for Council Brennan? Okay, there's two votes. And all in favor for Councillor or Deputy Mayor Fox? Okay, so it looks like it will be Deputy Mayor Fox, alternate Councillor Brennan. Yeah. Pardon me? That's right. Thank you for the reminder. All right, so is anybody interested in being the alternate for MPC? Deputy Mayor Fox and Councillor Brennan cannot be that person. Okay, I'm happy to be the alternate. If no one else wants it. Anybody else?
Probably.
But I was gonna say, not by me. Well, I don't blame her. All right, so that's everything? Okay. So, if we can get a motion on. No, we have to, the motions for the board appointments as well. So we have to look at the other board appointments too, or is this for the council board appointments?
This is just for the council board.
Okay,
This,
all right. So can I get a motion on the council board appointments?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I'll motion that the 2024-2025 council board appointments be accepted as discussed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, item 4.2, Crossfield SDAB appointments. Anytime you're ready.
Great. Good evening, Council. Steve Altina, representing Planning and Development tonight, to present the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board appointments for members at large. Under sections 4.1 of the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board bylaw that was just approved, adopted by council at the last council meeting, the board should be comprised of 5 members and include residents as member at large and up to 1 councillor, as just discussed. The town has actually received 3 applications for residents to sit on the board. Your report says 2 applications. We did have an application come in since the report's been written. So I believe the staff has amended the motion to include all 3 folks within the motion in front of you. So our recommendation from administration is that the council appoint the applicants to the Subdivision Development Appeal Board for a 3-year term in accordance with bylaw 2024-05. We do recommend that council move into a closed session under section 17 and section 19 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act if council wishes to discuss personal information contained in the member at large applications. Administration's proposed motion is that council appoint Elazar Nikolov, Jeffrey Glaza, and David Gilroy to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board for a 3-year term.
Great, thank you. I think before we go into in camera, I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
I look at the application form. And for our board positions, I think that we may be doing ourselves a disservice by not having a fuller application form to find out more information about the individuals who are applying. So I'm just curious after this round, if we can have a look at changing the application form to make it a little more robust so we get the information we need to make a better decision.
Yeah, to the chair, absolutely. It's something we can certainly look at.
Okay.
I think I'd recommend at this time, we have 3 folks willing to be on the board that council consider them kind of as is with the application, but we can certainly consider improvements to the application form. Does council have some ideas of what they'd like to see improved or some specific information they'd like to see on the application form?
Well, I think, I look at the application form right now and even the eligibility, we're looking for somebody who's like, you can't even vote when you're 16. And we want them to make decisions on, an SDAB board. I think that, we need to raise the age. We're also asking for, people who may or may not be, Canadian citizen, or is a student with a work permit that doesn't have a vested interest in Crossfield to make, really permanent decisions for our town. So I think changing the wording around that, would be beneficial. I also think just finding out more about a person, like, yeah, you ask the question of, why are you seeking this appointment? What's your background kind of, and people are giving, 1 or 2 or 3 word answers. And I don't think that's what we're really looking for. I think that we want them to be able to explain a little bit more as to why they would be the best person to, be on one of the council's boards.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I'd also like to add in there too, if we can somehow for the wording is they need to have been a resident in Crossfield for a certain amount of time. So they can't just move here and then be part of the development phase.
Sure. So I guess to the chair and to Councillor Fox, are these comments consistent for all committee application forms? Obviously, we have the MPC, SDAB now. So just so we're clear as administration, these comments are applicable to any committee that residents may
I would say
apply for.
yes. Yeah.
So I think even just with our previous conversation regarding council appointments to boards as well, maybe there's worthwhile administration looking at the boards and committee policy just to refine some of those elements in a short policy that could then feed into the application form so we can get it right on the application and tie it back to a policy. So it probably ties back to some of that previous conversation with council that we can strengthen some of those pieces regarding the committee.
That would be great. And then, I'm sure other councilors have some comments too. My last one would be, I'm just curious if we would, do a level 2 background check on all board members as well. And even within Bill 20, that's coming out for councils, there's going to be a background check for us, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we can look at. I think we will have to ensure that we are also still attracting board members. So you've seen that compensation piece come forward with SDAB, trying to attract and retain members. So historically, the town has had some difficulties specifically with SDAB in retaining those members for that board. Hasn't met a lot. Maybe some interest gets lost there, but I think we need to, dance that line between having those requirements and also attracting people to come in and apply for these boards and be involved within the community like that. So I think to the mayor, for your previous comments about, what they write on their application form and the substance of the response, administration doesn't specifically review that and vet the applicants. That's brought to council, and council can appoint or choose not to appoint based on those responses. So I think if council feels that someone hasn't provided enough background into their interests or expertise, that they, it's council's right to obviously not put that person to.
Well, and maybe that's something we write into the policy too, that administration does it, vet it first.
Yeah,
and get more information.
And we can look into that as well. So
yeah, because I think if it's not vetted and they come to us, then we could be doing this process for a while instead of getting good active board members in place in a timely fashion. So we'll leave that policy review for you guys, I guess, and we'll go from there. Anybody else have any additions? Councillor Knight.
Just a question, maybe for Steve or Lindsay. Is there the eligibility policy for 16? Are there any groups that are out there that a bold policy across the whole thing for 18 and above would be impactful? I'm not sure if any groups or boards that we have that are oriented with having 1 or 2 high school kids involved. I'm just curious if there are any boards that we do vet through that might include a high school kid.
Through the chair, it probably was previously when it was the youth organization that they used to have in town, where youth could apply to sit on the I can't think of that. Thank you.
Mhm.
The Youth in Action Board.
Yeah.
So that's probably where that came from, but I don't believe we have any currently right now.
Okay. Secondly, is how was it advertised or how is it advertised? I know that people are watching some of the meetings that they'll be kind of wondering, well, in order to accept 3 people here, we haven't really seen how it was posted for or all the rest. Was it publicly posted somewhere, or how did these names come through in since we just did this meeting last 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
For sure. So through the mayor to council tonight, for SAB in particular, it's been advertised for quite some time on the town website under the volunteer opportunities website. We also brought advertising page to Community Fest with a QR code that took people to the website. We believe some of these applications were generated from scanning that QR code at Community Fest as well. I believe we still haven't filled our quota for SAB. There's ability, we could have more than 5 folks on the board itself, right? You'd only have a meeting with 5, but you could have alternates as well. So that posting is still up as a volunteer opportunity on the town website. So if there are folks watching tonight, or if there's folks that council knows, or people that are interested in getting involved, they could still apply, and we can bring back more names to council at another meeting too, to appoint to the board. It's always good to have a number of people to have alternates, make sure we reach quorum, which is 3, and ideally 5 folks on that board. So,
Okay, so it's posted for more than a couple months, right? That's.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if there's no questions or comments, can I get a motion to go into camera?
The church,
Counselor Knight,
all motion moved to the camera at 7:32.
all in favor? Motion carried. Okay. Counselor Gustafson, you have the floor for a motion.
All right, thank you, Mayor Harris. Through the chair, I'd like to move that we invite the SDAB applicants an opportunity to express their interests at a future council meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Okay, we have item 5, strategic planning update. Yeah, and go ahead, CEO.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. Just providing a bit of an overview for council here. I know we talked about this a few months ago with the strategic plan, but just to provide a more, I guess, up-to-date update on council strategic plan and the progress we've made on that. As was identified in a previous report, council has 5 priority areas that were defined in 2022. Those include sustainable community growth, town infrastructure, parks, recreation and beautification, social development and emergency services, communications, and public relations. On the progress on the various components, we're sitting at approximately 69% completion overall, and council is sitting at about 75% of their term. I would say the area that has the most lag would be around a sustainable community growth. There are a number of items that were identified in that area that relate to the facilitation of growth moving forward and advancement of growth within the community. However, at present, we are dealing with some infrastructure challenges that has forced us to put some of those items on hold temporarily. And as such, that is impacting advancing some of those areas specifically. One of the items to note here is the update to the MDP and land use bylaw that came back to council here not too long ago, just a few weeks ago. We'll be bringing that back early in 2025 with the proposed adjustments for council's final consideration. There'll be a public hearing on that as well, and that will be publicly shared so individuals know when that's happening. And you can see that, like I said, being concluded hopefully in early 2025. On the town infrastructure piece, as council will recall, the water feasibility study has been completed. We're now working on a receiving stream analysis. This was an item that was identified by the wastewater feasibility study to determine Nose Creek's capacity for additional effluent discharges. This is an area that has been taking a significant amount of resources on our end to navigate, looking at the wastewater management for the town and how we move through that and some of the challenges we're seeing there over the coming years. On the social development and emergency services, I guess of note there, the grant funding that's secured from the last report that was provided as there's a bit of additional $59,600 secured since that date, but 10,000 of that relate to emergency services. Social services about 26,500, and the remainder relating to the summer jobs that we had this past summer. There's been multiple communications with provincial ministers, myself and the mayor in particular, and Councillor Brennan on a couple of occasions has joined us in meetings with ministers on various different topics, including things like wastewater management and some of the infrastructure needs that we'll have coming forward. The Crossfield booth, we adjusted that all about Crossfield booth at the Community Fest and replaced that with the MDP booth, and that was a significant component of the community engagement, and we saw some great responses there. The eScribe implementation, council will see more on that in December for sure. There's a training component, and there'll be engagement with council on that piece, so we'll see more on that at the end of this year. So I would say right now, like I said, there's a lot of work by administration that's being dedicated to the development of the 2025 budget. A huge time commitment there to bring that to council for the 13th and 14th of November for discussion. Significant amount of time going into some of the challenges we're seeing around the wastewater management component. we're prepping for the release of our effluent into Nose Creek this year and navigating some challenges on that. And we have a lot of, you'll see things, ongoing reviews of internal processes that are happening as well. And anything that is forward facing, those will come back to council in the coming months as well. And that concludes my update on the strategic plan. If there's any questions, I will try to address them. And if I'm unable to, I will reach out to my friends to help me out here.
All right, questions for CEO Bernie? I'm just curious, the snow and ice policy? Where are we at with that one? It's been a while now, and here we are coming into another winter. Anybody?
Sure, to the mayor, maybe I'll start and Ms. Barney might have to back me up. Yeah, so I think at a council meeting, a couple of council meetings ago, we moved it on the outstanding items list to Q4. Administration is working on it, as it's shown here, about 30% complete. But we are working towards a Q4 presentation date to council. I joined town in September, and I'm working with Murray, our operations foreman, to piece it together. So yeah, we do intend to bring it together and forward, and I do apologize, it's maybe a little bit later than council had wanted, but there's a lot of competing priorities right now, and we're trying to bring it all, make sure it all moving forward, and yeah, it'll be
That's
coming
okay,
to
I'm
council
just-
later this fall. So
Just couldn't quite remember what the timeline on that was. Yeah, great, thanks. The downtown lights and the fixes and that type of thing. I don't know if we have any updates or even if that's been a priority lately, but I was just curious about that.
What's interesting that you asked that, because Director Altina and I had a conversation today, met with the entity that we're having those discussions with. There's a bit of information that both him and I will have to review, and our intention is to bring some possible solutions back to council. We're looking at both the considerations as it relates to how we're navigating this component with the external entity, but also looking at solutions for the long term, and whatever solution we look at, how that impacts the ongoing maintenance of the assets along railway and those sorts of things. So we want to have before we bring back what the ultimate solution might look like, we want to have greater clarity around what the impact of that might be going forward to our operations and the maintenance of those assets.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mm.
And then just a comment about talks with ministers and stuff. I have had quite a few opportunities to talk to different ministers, not only this year, but last year and the year before. We do have, our mayor's caucus does have another meeting here set with Premier Smith. She got back to us within 4 days, which is great. That doesn't happen often, so we're taking advantage of that one. And that's specifically for more funding for towns between 1,000 and 14,999 population. And a sustainable funding model, I guess. So on that note too, we have, as a council, sent a letter off to Minister LaGrange for doctors for our area and region. So there has been some advocacy on the go here. So we don't have a strategy yet, but we're just kind of plugging away. Any other questions for CEO Barney? Okay. There's no questions. Can I get a motion?
Through the chair, I'll make the motion that council accept the strategic plan update for information.
Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
Motion carried. Okay, item 6.1, bylaw 2020. That's just for correspondence and our information. think on that note, and just as part of general conversation, I think, and I think we're already doing it, is looking at that bylaw to make some adjustments on it. Specifically, I think for some of the dates that don't really align with our council agenda package process. Right now, I think we want the agenda packages to be out by Thursday at 4:30. And in the agenda package, it does say, or in the bylaw, it does say Friday and or 1 day's notice for council. And I think those are some of the things that I would like to change to streamline our process and our timelines for council agendas. Sorry, I didn't write down like the sections and the numbers, but. So that's one of the changes that I wanted to make to that bylaw, Lindsay. I can email you a list if that's okay. And then maybe if council, the rest of council too, can have a look at it and email anything that they would like to see adjusted in the bylaw. That would be great. Any comments from the rest of council?
Through the chair.
Councillor Gustafson.
After all the comments from council were made to administration about any of the changes happening in this bylaw, then will it be circulated? It'll be circulated within the board package prior to the next meeting.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I'm guessing a motion will be made to accept the changes. That's our typical policy, our typical procedure, right?
Yeah, once it's brought back
Yeah.
and they make the changes,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Anything else on item 6.1? Okay, item 6.2. Bylaw 2020-15 Council Code of Conduct Policy Review. Any conversation, comments, questions for council? Okay, my biggest one on that one, Lindsay, was how does ours align now with Bill 20 with the changes from the provincial government? And can we make those alignments within ours, or find out if the province is actually giving all of the municipalities a standard template? Or if we are required to just align with the Bill 20?
Through the chair.
Councillor Gus.
I thought I was under the impression that we were to align under the new bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Is what
that
my
regulation
impression
is.
was.
Yeah.
So that's what my impression was,
Okay,
is having to change this when if the bill gets passed. We may have to possibly change that to realign with that. I don't know.
okay. Any other comments on Council Code of Conduct? Okay, that's the biggest one that I had, so. Thank you. And then item 6.3, Government Alberta Council Members Handbook. What every councillor needs to know. And I think it's a handy handbook. It's good to review for sure if everyone hasn't reviewed that. But I would have the same question there with some changes within the Alberta government and Bill 20 and other bills. Are there any changes? Is there going to be an updated handbook for council? Would be our question. Okay, thanks. Any other comments? All right, if there's no further conversation or comments, can I get a motion on item 6?
Through the chair,
Counselor Brennan.
I move that the correspondence be accepted as information.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Through the chair. I'll move that we adjourn.
Thank you.